round two of the Baer Faxt Live from Basel. We like to say this is Basel. For those of you who've never been to Switzerland, there is a real place called Basel. And thank you, Artlogic, for sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live. From inventory and accounts management to websites and payments to discover why the art world runs on Artlogic today. Our guest, your company, Beaumont Nathan, one of the great art advisors. You actually run on Artlogic, don't you?
We do run on Artlogic, yes.
Okay, so nice coincidence here. And Wenty, thank you for coming to show how the fair looks from an advisor standpoint. You were in 2 or 3 hours to the fair. It was like, what's going on the floor?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Great to be here. And it's really great to be back in Basel. I think it feels, I can't say I've done all of the fair. I've done probably half of it. I've done mainly downstairs.
Downstairs where the big ticket thing is.
Where the big ticket is. It seems very busy, which is, I can't really verify sales for other people, but it seems like people are talking about a bit of action here and there. So yeah, it seems good.
So you start on the ground floor. What's the thinking behind that?
I'm starting on the ground floor because I've got to go to see specific things that we've got an interest in. The team are working a bit more upstairs, and I'm going to move upstairs after I've finished review.
Do you review all the PDFs that they're sending out?
We study them pretty hard, as much as anyone can. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming.
So do you have works that were on reserve and like, I'll be there in the first hour to say yes or no?
A bit of that, yeah.
Like which ones?
I will be telling tales to reveal that, I'm afraid.
I mean, I gotta try. Sometimes I get people people less experienced than you have not realized that and have answered the question. So
I'll tell you in a day or two.
You tell me in a day or two. Did you take the works that you reserved?
We've taken one so far and 2 others in discussion.
Are you finding that they're saying in years past they would have said, well, it's 12 o'clock, you're gone, go away. And now they're saying the 2 of them in discussion, well, if you let us know tomorrow, that's okay?
No, I think there's a happy medium. I think it's definitely, people are a little bit more accommodating to get deals done than perhaps they have been in previous years, but it's not super aggressive that I've seen today anyway.
Do you ask them like, okay, we're not sure, call us if someone else comes in?
There's a bit of that.
Do you think that sometimes they pretend when they call?
I mean, far be it from me to say, but I'm sure there's a few games that go on.
Well, what about the games that we play as advisors?
Correct.
You can name one. Come on.
No. Look, I think for me the big difference I think there's a lot of willingness to get deals done this year. I think last year, if I was to think of a difference between the 2 years, no one was willing to really talk about the fact that maybe the market was off a little bit. And I think now it's it's openly discussed, and it brought in what I would say is a slightly more pragmatic approach to getting deals done on both sides.
Are you saying, what I'm saying is the starting price is more reasonable and less aspirational, or is the discount bigger?
I would say both, but also just a bit more of a meeting of minds in order to how to actually get the deals done. Everyone wants to get the same result. There isn't. It's as I said, it's just less aggressive. It's not like you've got 5th reserve, 6th reserve. It's like, let's talk, let's make it happen.
When you see a piece, do you feel like I know the number that's going to take, and you can tell before the deal what it is?
Like you, I've been in the game for a while. You get a bit of an instinct, but this game never fails to surprise. So I think it varies. Obviously, the secondary market material, I think, has got a little bit more unexpected on that front.
And are you here with clients or are you here for clients? Because it's a very different experience as an advisor. When I'm here with a client, it's like the sweat coming down, trying to say something intelligent in every booth, trying to get them to stop talking to the dealers about their kids' bar mitzvahs. There's a lot of pressure going on there.
I mean, I would say we are here for clients. We do go with clients. It's not the favorite aspect of my job, if I'm honest. I find it pretty stressful, pretty pressured. And as you say, walking around, it's like walking through a mass crowd and trying to have these discussions very hard. So in this instance, I'm here for clients. We do have some clients coming tomorrow and possibly another on Thursday, but for now it's just us.
But isn't it hard for them to buy from not seeing it themselves?
No, but we've had quite a lot of discussions in advance. You know, we're speaking, there's WhatsApp. You know, I think the game has changed a bit. You know, definitely since COVID, people being more prepared to buy sight unseen, especially with our help and with having provided them with all the information, all the images, etc.
So not to get information out of you that you won't get, what have you seen that's kind of spectacular that's not necessarily what you're trying to buy or sell so far?
In terms of sort of surprises at the set?
Or just things that were great. I mean, I can answer after you things that I thought were great.
I think that perhaps, I think this is a great fair, always has been. I think perhaps sometimes there is a risk that the booths become a bit samey. You know, you have the same artist, the same, and so I like anything that's a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit of a surprise. And you know, I went to one of the first stands I went on today was Aquavella and saw their 1941 Braque, which is I can't really remember that picture. I don't think it's been seen for 8 or 10 years. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it kind of raises the bar. It's nice. It's sort of heavyweight picture with a bit of pedigree. I think it's good for Art Basel, and it was good to see it.
I thought that was, I don't remember if it was in their Braque show. They did a great Braque show a while back.
I don't think it was.
But it's like, yeah, and then you're there, and it's like, I was talking to Mr. Aquavella, and he's talking about having a Femme d'Alger painting in there. I'm going, whoa, that's a couple of $100 million. Then I realized he was talking about a Tom Sachs painting of the Picasso Femme d'Alger.
I may have fallen into that same trap as well.
So it's like, in the conversation, it's like, what's going on? And then that's why this is, I think, a great fair, is that almost every booth you walk into, you can see something like, you didn't know them, you didn't know that would be there. I feel kind of trapped. I'm only have 2 hours in this whole trip to see the fair, so it's like, it's kind of bizarre for me.
I think that's great, that slight element of surprise, you know, and I think these fairs need that, you know, otherwise I think they do become a bit monotonous, you know, and I think from what I've seen today, you know, I thought Luxembourg and Diane had a very sophisticated stand. I didn't know, actually I saw you on it. But, you know, a little bit different, not what you expected. I thought little Giacometti, the Magritte was beautiful. Sophie Talbot, work on paper, like real gems. So that was another stand I thought was very good.
Yeah, things I loved like were a Louise Bourgeois sculpture at Lévy Gourvet Diane.
Yeah, I haven't studied Lévy Gourvet Diane yet.
They had a great booth.
Yeah, I saw their Fontana ceramic, which I thought was fantastic.
And a beautiful Twombly, and then I saw great Picabia at Hausenwerth. I think it was $700 million or whatever. You know, the price there. It's good luck there. But it was a great painting. But I haven't been upstairs. Are you hearing? Is there sort of a general feeling that you get of like, what kind of art is there? Like, you know, we're into figuration, we're into history, we're into sort of more intellectual, classic things. Is there like an overall trend that you can feel, starting with the historical stuff?
Yeah, it's a very good question, that, because, you know, when I think back over the last 10 years, I think, you know, when we started our business, we actually had a lot of clients buying old masters, buying Victorian pictures, and while we still do advise clients on these historical objects, the number of people we do it for is much fewer, and I think the whole market has shifted, and it's just, you know, contemporary has really dominated everything, and I think, I'm sure that will continue to be, but I do feel perhaps there's a little bit of a return to not back to old masters or Victorian pictures, but I feel there's a bit. I feel modernism has a bit more of a role in today from what I've seen already, and I think that was perhaps evident in the sales in New York, and maybe there is a little bit of a, I'm not saying a radical change, but perhaps it's not all about contemporary at the moment.
Well, let's dive in a little bit more on old masters, because to me it seems like there's been a reevaluation, maybe more by Americans who have less that history, of that an old master hangs much better with, say, a Cindy Sherman than a second-rate Pissarro painting, and that people are more open to that. And I'm surprised I didn't see any in the fair.
Any old masters?
Old masters, why not? I mean, I think they sometimes, in Frieze Masters, you see this Hauser combination with an old master deal. It's kind of cool.
I think it would be kind of interesting to do it here. I think it would be quite a brave thing to do, but there's no reason why you couldn't. It would be someone like Hauser with a Bruegel or a Canaletto alongside a sort of bourgeois sculpture would look pretty cool.
What about you guys doing a booth? You did a great show in New York. Tell us about that in your offices.
Yeah, it's our one show in 10 years, which was our Kandinsky exhibition. We wanted to do something to celebrate 10 years. We wanted it to be in New York City, where is a very important center for our business. So we went through the inventory of things we bought for clients over the years. We realized we'd acquired 21 works by Kandinsky, of which the majority were Bauhaus paintings and works on paper. So we approached our clients, who very kindly loaned us back 5 paintings, 5 works on paper. We had a show in our office, loan show, curated by Hugo and by Olivier Bergruen. It lasted for about 10 days. It was a really enjoyable.
Wouldn't that have been a great booth here?
It would. I'm not sure the commercial rationale is that, but it was a fantastic thing to do, and it attracted people of all interests. And I'd like to think that won't be our last exhibition.
Well, the most expensive work of art of the fair is at Kandinsky, isn't it?
Which is on which booth?
Landau.
Which is Landau's Kandinsky, which I haven't properly seen, but it's a great painting.
So that's what, $50–100 million?
I believe.
Shouldn't you, as doing Kandinsky shows, shouldn't you have been right there, looking at the painting that you didn't buy at auction already?
It's not a Bauhaus painting, but it's a very important painting, that. And again, I think Landau is a case in point. I think having those guys bringing that sort of slightly more historical material of that pedigree is really additive to the whole Basel experience.
But isn't it also time to just bringing something for 75 million or whatever and knowing that you can't sell it? Aren't those days kind of done in this business climate there of now it's more profit and loss, bottom line?
I mean, that's more a question for Robert and Alice, but I mean, I think they've had some successes over the years, and as I said, I think having that material is beneficial to the rest of the fair.
But I think just from the few hours I was there, I saw less aspirational take a shot at it than I did last year with some pictures, and even in Miami with things with really big tickets and the cost of doing it. And I think those are usually big galleries. I don't think the payback's been enough. And then they have to tell the client, well, I didn't sell it.
Yeah, which is tough. I think there is, as I said earlier, I think there is definitely more realism. People are just more pragmatic about it, and I haven't really had any, I don't know if you've heard any really solid reports of what's actually happened in these last few hours.
Well, what I would say is 3 hours in the fair, I haven't gotten press releases yet from all the sales they made. I had that idea though in Hong Kong, and it's like, oh my God, it's 3 hours in, 5 hours in, I haven't gotten the press releases. Then I realized that, well, that's 5 a.m. in New York where all their press people are. So maybe it's impractical to think that these reports are coming out, because a lot of times they're based on New York time. So we'll see the big galleries, the ROPACs and all that saying 30 million this and 20
Any good
million.
anecdotal gossip?
Anecdotal? Isn't all gossip anecdotal?
Have you heard anything?
No.
Right.
Have you, I was more a sense of the question always, are the Americans here? The Americans here? The Americans here? People bitch about the Americans, but they all want the Americans.
Yeah.
I saw a few.
I've seen a few.
So the two that I've seen, they either now own or did own sports teams. So
I think that was the big complaint from last year. The common complaint was the American presence wasn't here. So that's great if there is.
So that's why they made Art Basel Paris, because Americans like that.
Yeah. And it sounds like that is fast becoming the sort of the winter, the sort of autumn destination fair.
And can you see your clients saying, well, maybe I Basel, June, I had this, graduation, I had school, but they're going to go to Paris?
Yeah, I do. I can't really comment on Basel versus Paris, but and it's very disloyal as a Londoner. But it seems to me like
Does London still have an art scene?
London still has an art scene, but I do worry that that's the sort of toss up people are making now is between which autumn fair do they go to, London or Paris. You know, it's quite long. If you're not, you know, for us industry type, we follow the merry-go-round. But I think for clients, that's 2 weeks.
And not to get into politics per se, but the effect on the art business of Brexit. Now, what are we, 8 years in?
Look, I don't think it definitely hasn't been helpful, but I also think it's used as a useful scapegoat when people want something to blame. You know, I think London as a global city has held up very well. You know, but it's, you know, this is you see with the art market, it seems still whatever happens, it's New York is the center of it, and you know, if London and Paris, you know, vie a bit more for market share, then great. You know, it's healthy competition. Both got good art scenes.
And are you doing business in the Mideast and in Asia?
A little bit. We're predominantly Europe and the US for our client base.
Because?
It's just the way it's happened, you know. Like, I guess both Hugo and I worked in the US before. You know, 30% of our team are American, and it's sort of how the business evolved. I would love to do more.
Is it coming out of an old master sense too, I think, so your history and who you've known from before having your advisory in a sense?
A bit. I just actually think, you know, we've always, our sweet spots, you know, as well as doing our masters, has been sort of modernism through to sort of classic post-war. And that is, I think, has historically quite a Euro American centric market.
And what are you hearing from your team from the younger galleries today, and what's the mood upstairs? I'm sure you're getting a little sense.
I think the mood is, from what I'm hearing, and this is really a secondhand information, is very much as downstairs. Like quite exciting, quite busy. I really can't comment on the quality of material versus last year, as I really want to set eyes on it myself to make that call.
I would say, in general, the notion of like the sky is falling is definitely not true.
I would agree.
But it's definitely not like 10 seconds and a handshake either. Yeah,
but maybe is that such a bad thing? You know, like it's sort of just a little bit more sanity has returned.
Are we saying that because when it was crazy, then people were making more money, so it was terrible then, but they were making more money. This is better. I'm not sure people really mean that.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of, for the clients that we act for, I think everyone likes an exciting, vibrant marketplace, a little bit of competition, a little bit of heat. I think it perhaps got to a place where it began, perhaps the elements of it lost their sense of fun. You know, this has got to be an enjoyable pursuit at the end of it, where it's sort of like, you know, wait in line. No, you haven't got a chance of getting that. And now it's just a little bit more back to how it was. And I personally prefer it.
I think the real question that we had going in this year as the final thought on the art market is like, if the prices came down, so would people then take that as run away from it? Or would they say, oh, I never thought I could get one of those again because it was too expensive, whether it was 100,000 or 3 million. And when they've come down 20, 30, 40%, they say, prices are going down, I should run away. Or are they saying prices went down, now I can afford, I'm going to pull the trigger? What I've observed is it could have gone either way, but collectors collect. And if they see the price, then part of them are thinking, wow, I can buy something.
Yeah, I would agree entirely with that. I think there is definitely a few nerves jangling when when the prices come off. But I think by and large, you know, most people, and certainly the people that we work with, you know, obviously the commercial consideration is very important, but at heart they want to buy art because it's the predominant driving factor is passion and because they like buying art. So I think the prices coming down a little bit or just restoring a bit of sort of a little bit more common sense into the market is quite appealing. And I think I've got a few people exactly as you say now saying, well, I never actually thought I could get one of those, or I thought, and now I want to take a bit of time, be a bit more measured, but I'm going to buy one.
So what about the sellers?
Well, I think the sellers have got to be probably a little bit more realistic, but if you look, I don't know what your thoughts. I thought the overall results for sellers in the auctions in May were reasonably good. And we sold quite a lot of material in May, and I was quite pleased how it all did. We just had to be careful we just had to be sensible on pricing. We had to make sure that we took guarantees when we were offered them, and we weren't sort of too cocky, deal's a deal. And I think there's just a new pragmatism in the market.
I had pretty much the same experience. If you're a seller, you're a seller. Usually your first office, probably the best one you're going to get, and waiting 5 or 10 years, you're probably not going to do better at this point. So I'd like to thank you for coming on and interrupting your reserve making. I'll expect to see the text we'll put up of all the things you did buy. At least at auction, we put your name up when you buy auction. And again, thank you, Artlogic, for sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live. They're trusted by over 4,500 galleries, artists, collectors, all of you should do that around the world. And they provide the tools you need to run your entire business. Come back for our next live event in about 30, 40 minutes with our next guest, who is Vincenzo from Art Basel. Tell us from the fair side what's going on. Thank you, Winnie.
Thank you very much, Josh.